So we are switching to the other section of the course, which is speaking assignments. We will do this first activity, right? And then we will move back to the writing assignments. This first activity is controversy analysis speech. Its duration is 3 to 4 minutes. Basically, this assignment is a summary of the paper, including 4 sources clearly cited. So you have already written the content of this assignment, but you are supposed to verbally present it to your class through Google Meet. This assignment will carry 15% of the grade. So here is some explanation about controversy analysis speech. You already did controversy analysis paper. Now this is controversy analysis speech. So the duration of the speech would be 3 to 4 minutes. You will be submitting to me. So instead of hand in, I would say email. You should email to me 2 outlines before the speech, a keyword outline and a full sentence outline. In the keyword outline, you should have just the main keywords that you are going to speak on during your speech. But in the full sentence outline, you should write full sentences, again in form of points, but full sentences that you are going to explain during the speech. So the bulk of this speech consists of informing your classmates about the main issues and questions that arise in your controversy. You should also be discovering the claims within your controversy and identify what kind of claims they are. Are they claims of definition, claims of fact, claims of value, claims of policy? We already have discussed that. In fact, when you wrote your paper, you might have mentioned 1 or 2 kinds of claims in your paper as well. You don't have to cover all the claims in your speech, but you should mention 2 or 3. So where will you find those claims? You will find those claims in the arguments that you wrote. And where the arguments came from? The arguments came from the readings that you did, right? So basically, in your controversy analysis paper, you recorded or you described the history and status quo of that particular controversy in light of your readings, okay? And that is exactly what you are going to describe in your speech as well. So how would you organize your speech? You should have an introduction with a clear thesis and preview, as well as an attention getter. So this point is exactly there in the paper as well, right? But now you are going to verbally speak it. The thesis should be informative, okay? Do not take a side. So after your introduction, you should provide brief background information and short history of your controversy. Carefully choose which details you feel the audience must know to understand the controversy. That is, you cannot explain everything. Use your history section in your paper to help you with this part. Then tell the current status. Only choose those things you feel your audience should know, right? So for both parts, history and status quo or current status, do not read out the whole paper that you have written. Rather, choose and pick important points that you would like to share during the speech. So the bulk of the speech is about the multiple arguments surrounding your controversy, right? The arguments written by other people, but then which you have used in your own controversy analysis paper as well. So much of this you will have learned during your research for the history and current status. So you don't have to do new research. You don't have to do a new writing, right? So it is the same assignment that you have done, but you need to rework it a little bit so that you can take out the main points out from it and then present those points in the form of speech. You can label the arguments based on which issues are being debated, and what kind of issues they are: definition, fact, value, or policy. Consider what your audience need to know to fully understand the issue. And then finally, your conclusion should summarize the main points and end with, you should end your speech with why this controversy matters. Any questions so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Irfan?
Sir, firstly, how much part of the speech we would send you in the form of email? Like you said that we have to send the sentences outline.
Yeah.
So how much part of the speech would we send to you?
Which part of the speech?
Sir, the sentences would be those which we would speak in the speech.
Yeah.
So we have to write all the speech and send it to you.
As email, yeah, yeah, as an attachment to email.
And sir, how would we tell the sources while giving the speech? That we would tell the book's name while.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Right. So basically, you should stay just natural. You know, the way you have written your own paper, and let's suppose you pick up 6 points to speak, three from the history and three from the status quo. One, about the introduction, and one about the conclusion, right? So basically you won't have probably any source for your introduction and conclusion, but when you are on the 3 points of the history of the controversy, you will be describing, okay, those 3 points related to history. You notice three developments, historical developments related to your controversy, right? So when you describe the first point, you should tell your classmates or your audience what is the source from where you got to know about that particular point. Okay, uh, and you have to do this for all the 6 points. At least for 4 points, you must provide the reference or the citation. Okay, so citation doesn't have to be, like you give all the details according to APA. It is enough to say that according to this writer, or who wrote in this particular book, right? Or according to the comment by this author in her or his article, right? And then you can continue with the statement. Okay, you might use a quote as well. You might have a quotation in the full sentences. You might like to use small phrases, but what is really recommended is that you should avoid too many quotations in a speech, especially a speech of 4 minutes. Okay, and you should try to use as much words of your own as it is possible for you. Okay, but still one or two quotes are okay in the whole speech. Now, quote or not, if you if you gather some information from a particular source, you 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 quote it or not, you should provide the citation while speaking. So when you are speaking, you should say according to this author, or according to this particular book, or as that author wrote in that particular book, right? And then title of the book. That is how you should provide citation in the speech as well while you're speaking. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, a little more about the delivery of the speech. Now, this is the part which I'm sure most of you have done in WRCM 101 in the previous course. Okay. That was a crucial part of the course. But just to give an overview of delivery. of the speech. So the first thing that you must notice, that the speech has to be a video speech. You must keep your camera on during the speech. Accordingly, you will need that arrangement, whatever proper background or proper light in the room, right? So uh, for the delivery part, these are the things you should keep in mind. So the first thing is about the speaker's physical posture. That actually hints at the fact that if you are sitting and speaking, you should sit or stand, whatever the situation is. uh, you should sit or stand upright. Okay, if you are bowed down too much, you won't be clearly visible to your audience. Or you should not keep swaying while making the speech, swaying sideways, or swaying up to and fro any way is not appropriate during a speech. You should also make appropriate gestures during your speech. So you do not keep your hands tied throughout the speech, or folded in front of you, or placed on table in front of you. Rather, use your hands as part of the communication. That they are called gestures, and those gestures should fit appropriately with the speech. Also, the speaker should make eye contact at least 70 to 80% of the time. Now, for an online speech, eye contact is a little tricky, but one thing that you should make sure is this: do not keep looking down during your online speech. Rather, look into the camera. When you look into the camera, your audience will have your eyes at the level of their own eyes. But if you look at the screen or at the keyboard, I mean, if you're using a laptop, then you will be shown in the video as looking down, right? And that is not a good impression. So basically, you should look up front. So this is again about the eye contact. And then do not look excessively at the visual aid. If you have any kind of visual aid, for example, you're using your notes, right? So do not continue to look at the notes, even if those notes are on the screen of your laptop, or they are on the right or left of the screen of your laptop. Yet if you continue to look at them, that will be noticed by your audience, right? So you should be rather stay focused on the camera that is in front of you. So you should deliver the speech extemporaneously. That means that uh, you can use notes, but you cannot read out the whole text of the speech. Verbal fillers should be kept to a minimum. So verbal fillers are those expressions which are actually meaningless, but we use them to fill the pause in our speech. For example, when we use an expression like the expression that we very often use in our conversation, in fact, is a verbal filler, because in fact that is not we what we exactly mean, right? That is not what we are asking our interlocutor, or the person who we are speaking with. We are not in fact confirming or verifying the knowledge of that person. Is just a verb filler. So keep them to minimum during your formal speech, because you have very limited time for the speech. So you should use maximum time for saying what is the most relevant. Finally, the speaker's volume and rate of speech should be appropriate for the audience. So volume is how loud are you speaking, okay? So in some cases, for example, when during the Google Meet, when some of you speak, you are hardly audible, okay? So it is your responsibility to check with the sound of your system, okay? So make an arrangement for a friendly call with a family member or with a friend, and communicate with her or him to make sure that you are clearly audible to your audience. Rate of speech is how fast you speak, okay? You should not rush through the points, okay? Sometimes we choose a lot to speak, but because of the limited time we feel we cannot say all. Therefore, we rush. Okay, avoid that tendency, right? And first of all, choose to speak what you can manage to speak, and then keep your rate of speech appropriate, neither too fast nor too slow. Finally, some deductions apply. Let's have look at them as well. Okay, so two outlines are required. Okay, for missing any one outline, you might lose 1/3 of the letter grade. Time penalties, you should stay, I think I should keep it 3 to 4 because it will confuse many of you later on. Let's make it 3 to 4. So it is a 3 to 4 minute speech. So 15 seconds less than 3 or 15 seconds above 4 is fine. But anything beyond that is not fine. All right. So please take care of that. Sources, you should mention 4 sources. Missing one source might result in deduction of 1 point from your grade.